Thank you for joining us on the Winning at Selling podcast. I'm Professor Scott Plum with the Minnesota Sales Institute. With me is Bell Helkamp of Reach Development Systems.
It's been said change is inevitable. And if you've been in sales the past few years, you know that to be true. The customer's buying process has changed, and so must the way that we sell. So buckle up, you buckaroos, as Scott and I discuss how is sales changing, and much more on episode 453 of the Winning at Selling podcast. Well, winning at selling, Scott, that's something
different,
new here.
Isn't
Let's
it?
talk
It is.
Talk about this.
Yeah, Bill and I have been doing this for a year. This is our anniversary episode.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah,
Yay.
Amen. Thank you. It's been a great year. It's been every week, folks. For those of you that are playing along at home, it's been every week. It's been through Christmas, New Year's, Arbor Day, different months.
Now, the Arbor Day was the hard one for me.
Yeah. So we've been at it. This is our 53rd episode together. And we want to evolve the podcast to really describe the topics that Bill and I talk about, which is everything related to selling.
And not just for the salesperson, but for sales management and marketing and how those come together. I know we've had a couple of guests talking about how marketing and sales work together.
Yeah, and the collaboration between the two and overall sales leadership and really building and developing the sales channel from the CEOs to the frontline salespeople, the folks that are in the trenches, carrying the bag, making things happen. Nothing happens until a prospect identifies themselves and talks to a salesperson. And through that conversation, action is taken and a sale is made. And we want to talk about everything related to behavioral. What are we doing every day? Techniques. What is our belief system? What's our attitude like? What other topics, Bill, do we want to focus on?
Well, I want to talk about winning. Winning at selling. I hopefully that it doesn't disturb people that they might think that there's a loser at selling. But in selling, there is a winner and a loser. You either get the deal or you go home with your head in your hands and you just spend a lot of money. But we want to win more deals, and that's okay.
And with that, we have a new website that you can go to, winningatselling.com. And that's where we'll be posting these episodes, our show notes, etc. So add that to your favorites, bookmark that site, winningatselling.com.
Excellent. Well, we'll talk about that some more as we go through the day, but we want to start off with our book club now.
So Chapter 10 of Psycho-Cybernetics by Dr. Maxwell Maltz. The title is How to Remove Emotional Scars. And this is a great chapter. They didn't give us an acronym, which I was a little disappointed
we were getting used
in.
To those,
It was
scars. Scars.
we could have done that. But I think it really covered a lot of things that are relevant, whether you're a salesperson or any person, that's still alive today. And the first one is...
So dead people, you don't need to worry about.
Need not apply. No,
right.
not relevant. Not really relevant. So,
well, I like this. I like this chapter because I think it's really true that we, people call this baggage, this emotional scarring.
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah.
We have baggage that we carry around, and it's amazing some of the things that people may have said to us 20 or 30 years ago that we're still dragging around with us.
Those experiences create beliefs. And like we've said in the past, our beliefs determine our behavior gives us the outcome and the result. So those experiences that we have define us.
Yeah, I like that he used the visual of scars and calluses and how they work on the body to prevent a re-injury. So if we wear shoes and we get a callus on our feet in a certain spot, that's going to help us from getting sore later on. But the emotional scars, when we get hurt by somebody, that can really take away our ability to enjoy close relationships later on, can it?
Yeah, I think one of the things that he talked about is the difference between a scar and an incision is the tension that is behind it. And a plastic surgeon can cut into the body and not create a scar because there's no tension, which I found, really an interesting example of the difference between the two.
Yeah, it was a little too vivid for me. So
it could be.
Not a big blood guy. So he had two major sections on this, right?
Yeah.
How to immunize yourself against emotional hurts and how to remove the old scars, right?
Mm-hmm. Cover different areas on, feeling threatened. A person that is too big to feel threatened. It seems like the people that have the biggest ego are the ones that have the most insecurities.
Yeah.
And we can see that with some folks as we get to know them a little bit better.
As I watch Twitter and the world and the news and cancel culture, I think people are very insecure right now. I don't know what's making that up. Maybe it's the fact that they didn't win a trophy when they were young or something.
Well,
But they're this emotional scarring and everything is. I can't make a joke anymore. I can't tell a story. Walking on eggshells, talking to people is kind of a hard way to live. So try not to look for every chance to get injured, right? Don't look to create emotional scars because you read something or somebody said something wrong and now you're going to be mad at them forever because they used a term you didn't like.
They didn't know what it meant, or maybe they were just reacting instead of responding. So
Right.
they regret what they said. They thought they were being funny. It wasn't funny.
Yeah.
And, it was something that was in gist, but the other person didn't take it in gist. And that's the unfortunate part.
So feel too big, be too big to feel threatened, right?
Yeah, exactly. The next one is self-reliance makes you vulnerable.
Less vulnerable.
Less vulnerable. Sorry. And this is, one of my reactions when I see a no soliciting sign. I go, I got an easy one here, because most salespeople will stop at the no soliciting sign. In fact, I'll include a blog on the show notes on I'm a first responder to a no soliciting sign. And it's got a little different twist to it. So those that want to figure out how the movie ends, you can go to the website winningatselling.com and you can have a link to that blog.
But yeah, what he was saying was that people put up barriers like that because they know that they can't deal with it if someone actually talks to them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And they just put that out there as a guard because they know that they'd cave in easily if somebody were to pass the no soliciting sign.
Right. Right. Yeah. I think self-reliance is a real key to believe in yourself. Again, I mentioned this, I'm reading the book Mindset right now, talking about the different mindsets and what makes you vulnerable. And that's really tying in real well with this book.
The next one is relax away emotional hurts. If there's no tension present, then there is no disfiguring emotional scar. We talked a little bit about this earlier.
Yeah, I think chill out, right?
Right.
Isn't that the term? Chill out, baby.
Yeah.
It's just not that big a deal. I actually I have a talk that I do, and one of the points that I make in dealing with is kind of like how groups should work together better. And one of the things I say is nothing is a big deal. And and what I mean by that is not that things aren't important, but don't make things such a big deal that I won't even tell you if I made a mistake, right?
Right.
Don't make it such a big deal. Don't kill the messenger. Too often in an organization, we make everything a major challenge, and then therefore people are afraid to say anything or be honest because we've made it so big. So I think that's important to relax away those emotional hurts.
The technique that I use when I can kind of sense that there's something more that somebody wants to share with me, but they're not sharing it and they're starting to feel that stress or that tension, is I give them a timeout, like a sports coach, like a basketball coach would be. Timeout. And just pause and just say, ask them, I'm guessing that there's something that you want to tell me, but you're not sure when, or you're not sure how I'm going to feel about that. Could you just tell me so we can make sure that we can get it out of the way and deal with it now?
Yeah.
And then they're going to tell you what's on their mind and what they're feeling. If you don't get past that emotion and let them voice whatever they're concerning, it's always going to be working against you. You have to know what it is.
So that timeout helps them to relax.
It does. And me too, because sometimes I can get very energetic. I can get very passionate. Some people think that I'm upset. No, I'm really passionate about something.
I think you're really angry.
I am. Yeah, I carry a lot of anger inside.
It's funny when you only hear people. I remember listening to a speaker once, and I thought, this guy's really mad. And then I saw him speak, and he was smiling all the time, and it was a whole different feeling on that. So anyway, that's off topic as usual. I get off topic. So
no, that's
his second big topic was how to remove the scars. Then what are his points on how to remove the scars?
I love when he talked about forgiveness and how you have to forget and forgive. And then he talked about the physical effects of carrying a grudge and not forgiving people is, how people end up really starting to look old. They show their age and the anger and the lack of forgiveness that they have for people that maybe didn't even know that they offended somebody or are holding a grudge against somebody that had no ill intent or something was misunderstood at the time. And then how that really dwells inside the body too. I wonder, where does cancer come from? Where do some of these diseases come from? And disease is a ease with something. So
Right,
there's
right.
something, a grudge that you're holding. So forgive person
And
and
certainly,
forget
you
about
can
it.
certainly feel when your stomach is all churned up over something,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now we've talked about faith, his faith in this a lot, and
Yeah.
he does bring up Jesus. And I can't help but mention we're a day away from Good Friday and the Easter
Yeah.
weekend here, and so if you're a person of faith, you understand what. Of the Christian faith, I'm sorry, you understand what Christ did to forgive all sins and what he went through. So hopefully none of us have to go through that. You just have to forgive. It's a little bit easier.
Another thing that I took away from the chapter is, since we cannot live in the past, we cannot appropriately react emotionally to the past. So we have to really separate different events from our personal being. So an event may be, I failed. However,
Yes.
the being is not, I am a failure.
Yep.
So we really need to separate the two. I found that to be very powerful. And
Yeah,
I
I
think we
wrote
need to
the
be
same note
reminded
down.
about
Yep.
that too.
I wrote the same note down. You make mistakes, but you are not a mistake.
Yeah.
And I think that's so
exactly.
important, that what I have done is not who I am. We are
Mhm.
all going to make mistakes. We're all going to say stupid things. And to go back to our earlier conversation, this is the real challenge with this cancel culture.
Mm.
You are the mistake then. You
Wow.
made a mistake 30 years ago. You made a mistake 200 years ago. And now you are going to be mercilessly destroyed for that mistake. And it is really a sorry way. Have you ever heard the story? This reminds me of the story. Can I tell a story, Scott?
Yeah. Please do.
So Chuck Yeager, I believe it was, had an old-fashioned airplane, and he was flying it around. He took it in to be gassed up. The guy put fuel in it. He went out to fly it, and it conked out, and he had to semi-crash land it. Turned out the guy put jet fuel in instead of regular aviation fuel.
Wow.
So he went back to the guy, and the guy was just scared. He thought, oh man, Chuck Yeager, the most famous pilot ever, is going to come and yell at me. Chuck said, you are the only one that's ever going to care for my plane when I come to this airport. And the guy said, why are you going to do that? He said, because you're never going to make that mistake again.
Oh, yeah.
Never going to make. And that's how we learn from mistakes. We don't
Right.
destroy people because of a mistake. We use that as a way to learn and grow and keep moving forward. All right. So we're not a mistake. And the last one I really liked, he said, smile and just care less about what others do and say.
Yeah.
Just let it roll off your back, man. So that's kind of the relaxed thing again, but just don't worry about it. It's over.
One of my favorite verses out of the Bible is Psalms 118, verse 8, which is, better take refuge in the Lord than trust in any man. And one of the greatest weaknesses that salespeople have is a high need for approval. And I was just working with a client this last week about how she wasn't feeling like she was making any momentum. And I said, whose approval are you seeking? Are
Right.
you wanting to be liked by your prospects? Are you giving them this obligation of liking you and they don't even know about it? Are you waiting for them to give you approval when they don't know that that's what you want? It's a weakness when we seek other people's approval. We really need to be conscious of that. Seek approval in a way that is healthy for our growth and our transformation and our being.
Yeah, excellent. Well, another chapter down. This is a great book. If you haven't picked it up yet, this is a really kind of I'm starting to say this is the original mindset book in many ways.
But it really is, yeah.
So our next book, just as a warning, it'll be about 5 weeks yet, so you want to get started on it. Let's Get Real or Let's Not Play by Mahan Khalsa. Pick it up, start reading it. Might be a little bit hard to find. It's not heavily in print. You might have to go to Amazon. You might have to go to eBay to find a copy. I found a copy on audio. Scott, you said it's on Audible?
Yes, it's on Audible. I bought the book many years ago. It's a fabulous book, powerful book, deep book, great resource. So I think our listeners are going to step up the game as we go through that book, as they say.
You bet.
This segment has been brought to you by the Jumpstart Sales Coaching Program, presented by your host of Winning at Selling podcast. Every professional athlete has a coach, someone to assist and advise. Tiger Woods had 4 swing coaches so that he could stay at the top of his game. What would you like to improve or overcome in the next year? Perhaps as a salesperson, you want to be more productive with your prospecting, overcoming objections, or delivering more effective presentations. As a sales manager, you want to create a spark within your sales team with a new message, a refreshed approach to starting new conversations with prospects, or you are looking for market-ready strategies to increase revenue and shorten the sales cycle with your existing team. Or as a business leader, you want to transform the sales culture and your value proposition for the new marketplace. Whatever your reason, this is the perfect time to engage with an experienced sales coach. That is why your hosts of Winning at Selling podcast, Professor Scott Plum and Bill Hellkamp, have developed the Jumpstart Sales Coaching Program. Now you can receive personal coaching from the same sales professionals you enjoy on this podcast. It all starts with a discussion to give us insights into your specific goals, challenges, needs, and motivation. Go to winningatselling.com to contact Bill or Scott about the Jumpstart Sales Coaching Program. Do you believe you deserve better results? Now is the time to invest in yourself, your people, and your customers, and invest in your future. So today we're going to talk about a special topic, how sales has changed over the last year. And Bill and I are going to share some of our opinions, our observations, and what we think. Bill, do you want to start?
Yeah, I was looking at your notes and my notes, and I kind of took it from the customer standpoint. As I mentioned in the intro, the customers are buying differently. And so I want to talk about that. And I think yours takes it more from how we're selling differently. So let's kind of go back and forth a little bit, see where they mesh up. But one of the things I find is that because of the internet and the great amount of free information out there, customers are doing a lot more pre-search. And if you get an inquiry, you can be pretty sure you're one of the top 3 already that they've looked at. They are not inquiring about somebody they're not interested in. So that's a really good thing for salespeople to know that if there's an inquiry, somebody knows a little bit about you and they've chosen you from the herd already.
Right. They're already on that customer journey, as they say. They may be on step 4 or 5 before they actually identify themselves and talk to a salesperson.
Right.
The best thing to do is not stand in the way. I mean, I can't remember.
When the customer's ready to buy, try to let them do it.
I don't know where I heard a story, Bill, but I don't know if it was you and I talking or somebody else, but somebody walked into a motorcycle dealership and they're going to say, I'm here to buy a motorcycle. And the salesperson said, well, let's check out some of the models that we have, and started showing them different options versus saying, what kind of motorcycle are you looking at buying? And then taking them over to it and saying, here it is.
Right.
And then fill out the sales slip and out the door you go, instead of trying to sell them on something when they've already decided to buy. Don't stand in the way.
And accidentally confusing them.
Right.
Not meaning to. I don't think that the salesperson, but it looks like a bait and switch. It looks like, especially if they've made a decision because something's on sale, they want to look at that. And you think, well, let's show them the whole breadth of things, can show them how smart I am. Right. And then all of a sudden you're moving them away and you're confusing them, and they'll go down to the shop similar to you down the street, and they'll buy it by somebody who will, as you say, just show them what they're looking for.
Yeah. One of my biggest ones, and I'm just still perplexed by how our marketplace has changed, and that is that decisions are based on convenience, not by the marketplace. And when I mean not by the marketplace, I'm using this formula that a price is determined by supply and demand. And the price that people pay is not based on supply and demand anymore. It's now based on convenience. And here's the examples that I'm going to use. You can see a commercial about how to buy a car. You can buy a car online. They'll deliver it to you and they'll pick up your old car. Convenience. Right. How do we know how much we should pay for that car? Is there supply and demand?
They guarantee you that that's a great price.
Well, for who? Yeah, for who? The same thing with buying a house. I mean, you can buy a house online. You can go to Zillow and you can look at houses. Here's the scary thing.
But is that generational, do you think? Do you think that, my sons who are in their 20s are going to be more likely to buy that way, whereas I like to go and negotiate and meet people and have this conversation and look them in the eye? Is it a fear thing? I don't want somebody to, is it the no soliciting sign from the other way?
Well, it could be the reputation that salespeople have in certain industries. And you hear commercials from car dealerships that say our salespeople don't work on commission. Right. Well, I mean, is it like buying tomatoes at a grocery store then? I mean, the price is the price.
Well, and that's what they advertise too. The price is the price. No haggling. And somehow no haggling is a convenience to me.
And people pay for that.
Yeah, so, and they do pay for that because they pay what the price the car dealer is going to charge them.
But here's the essence of it, is that a price is what a buyer is willing to pay. And these days we are so crazy busy that we get
that's the big deal.
Yeah. And here's one of my other ones, is that we are overstimulated with an unclear focus. There's so much information and distraction out there. We have fear of being left out. We've really have reduced our commitment to continuously learning. Now, I'm talking to a group of people who are listening to a podcast that are committed to continuously learning. So who am I talking about? I am talking about the people who are not listening to the podcast. So those of you that are listening and you're committed to your continuous learning, congratulations. It is setting you aside from the majority of the people in your field and in your industry. And I want to congratulate you for making the commitment of the time and to coming here to listen to Bill and I as your influencers.
So when you say buyers are overstimulated with an unclear focus, how does that affect the salesperson? What should we do about that? What can we do to overcome that?
Well, I think we need to find out where people are starting, what they're looking for, and deal right away with any misconceptions or skepticism related to the entire process, and focus on what's important. Too often, salespeople focus on what makes us different. Different is not important. Important is important. Different or similar is a completely different criteria.
Now, you're looking for the Venn diagram of important and unique.
Right.
Eventually, but you're not going to get that necessarily in the first 5 minutes of the conversation.
Focus on what's important, give them what they want.
Yep.
And don't get in the way of a missed sale because you got distracted on introducing information that was not relevant or needed in making a decision.
Which means don't show them things they've already told you they're not interested in.
Right. What do they do when I went to a health club? They took me to the exercise floor. I don't want the exercise floor. I want the hot tub. Take me to the hot tub. That's why I'm joining a health club. Now,
I'm a triathlete. I go to the steam room, the hot tub, and take a shower, and I'm done.
I call it the California workout. I get my pulse rate up to about 115 for about 45 minutes. It's amazing how many calories I can burn.
Sometimes I have to take a nap somewhere in between there because I'm just tired out.
I digress. Right. What's one of yours?
Buying more as a team with the desire to include younger members in the group. So I'm seeing organizations that are saying we need to teach our younger employees, our younger team members, how to buy. We want their input, especially on technology issues. And so we're seeing a larger breadth of these buying teams. And the larger the team, the more complex the selling process and the more relationships you have to develop as a salesperson. So you can't focus on one person because they seem to be the leader, because that leader will, while they won't totally defer, they will look for input from the whole team. And like anything, people buy differently. So now you've got age ranges, experience ranges, all these things coming at technology, knowledge levels. And so you have to use a variety of selling tools and processes with them.
I have a client that's in the market research business. And when you are facilitating a focus group, you need to make sure that you get contribution from everybody that's there, because the person that is not talking that much has a tremendous amount to say. And you need to really draw that out of them. So when you're working with a large decision-making team, think about it as a focus group where you want to get everybody's input so that they're able to contribute so that you can deliver what's most important to everybody there.
And doing that in such a way as to not put them on the spot and make them feel like if I don't answer this, I'm going to get in trouble. So how do you make it a safe environment for them to participate? It's a tool I'm sure you use in your training.
Oh, yeah.
And I find that training tool to be very effective in sales, is getting people to respond when they're trying to be quiet and hide in the corner.
Right. I'm kind of curious, what do you mean by that, is the question that you would ask. And now you're going to get the intent behind the content. You're going to get really their why, as so commonly asked these days.
Dig a little deeper, right?
Yeah. And learn more about it.
All right. So team selling was mine, or team buying. And what's another one of yours?
One of mine is there's really an emphasis on lowering prices versus adding value. It seems like the people that are coming into the marketplace that are new And the late arrivals are focusing on selling on price and not value. You can see some airlines that come out there and they'll charge you this fee and you go, oh, great there. Well, there's a fee for this, a fee for that, a fee, they nickel and dime you. And the next thing you know, now it's the same fee as some of the major airlines. So, I mean, who is charging a premium service? These companies we don't see them as much. And here's one thing to really keep in mind is when we commoditize our own product or service. And I'll use an example of two areas that I think we can all relate to. Number one is banking. Banking has evolved the interaction between a customer and a banker to an app. They've limited it to an ATM machine. They think customers are an expense, so they want to avoid people standing in line and talking to tellers. So now you're getting more virtual banks, you're getting ATMs, you're getting apps on your phone, you're getting online bill pay. The interaction between a customer and a banker is minimal.
But I think some of that, Scott, is coming from the internet, the Twitter, the phone age. When I look at, you can call it convenience, but I think some of it is fear of working with other people. It's the no soliciting sign in a major way for an entire generation group who doesn't even know how to talk to each other, not through Twitter.
Oh, wow. That's a great point.
And therefore and I'll tell you, I do a thing on this too. They've been told their whole life, think about the kids we brought up, don't talk to strangers. Don't talk to strangers. Stranger danger. Exactly. Don't talk to strangers. And my wife and I were very conscious of making sure that we didn't tell our kids don't talk to strangers.
Right.
We told them, be aware of what's going on, but strangers are just friends you haven't met yet. And, make sure it's a safe environment. And they knew what the rules were, but we would never say don't talk to strangers. But how can you ever be a salesperson if you don't talk to strangers? And then they got their earbuds in, they got their face in their phone, and they're living a life of the phone instead of with people. And they can't even make a date that's not over the phone. So I think a lot of that is just fear of speaking with other people. And I'd rather just take a picture of my check and send it in.
Right. I mean, it seems like more people are more committed to acclimating their dogs to being with other dogs than they are their children with interacting with other people.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's go to the dog parks, make sure our puppy can interact with other puppies.
That's right. That's right.
Fascinating.
All right. Well,
my second greatest example that you've had, the cancel culture, Bill. The example that you have there was just perfect. I mean, I've never heard it like that before, but that was a great example of defining the cancel culture.
Yeah, I think we need to be careful here. So anyway, my third one is more virtual or web-based selling. So we've obviously been stuck in web-based selling for the last year since the pandemic hit. I do not think it will go back to the way it was. There will be some rebound with older buyers who like face-to-face, but I think we need to be committed to getting better at selling virtually. First of all, it's a lot cheaper. You and I have probably both done analysis of how expensive it is to go out and put a salesperson in the field. And if you're not making money at it, it's because the salesperson isn't doing the right thing. Well, it's a lot cheaper to be selling virtually and not be driving all over the city. And I can make appointments I don't have to have 15 to 20 to 45 minutes in between appointments. I can have an appointment every half hour, every 45 minutes, and it can be a half-hour long appointment. I can do a little bit of note taking, and I'm ready to go for the next appointment. So we need to get better at it, and we need to be better than a video through the use of activities and interaction. We need to get people involved in how we're selling virtually.
I think you really bring up a great point. But here's something to consider, and most business owners, when they're hiring salespeople, don't consider this expense. Is the greatest expense of hiring a salesperson is the missed opportunities that happen on that salesperson's watch. Now, if we want to look at virtual and we're buying virtually and we're not talking to a salesperson, it seems like every time I make a decision online or even go to get my haircut, I'm getting a survey within 5 minutes or 2 weeks. And Amazon is constantly sending me, surveys on my experience with different products and services. And how many times do we put in those surveys our experience is not being pleasant? And how many times do the companies end up getting in touch with us to follow up on the experience? They don't. This is a missed opportunity. So we're kind of grazing across the surface of all the opportunities that are available to us. And when it becomes virtually and we're selling on price and we're worried about overspending on hiring people, are we really committing to a customer, a product, a service, and a reputation?
Yep.
What is our reputation at that point?
Yeah, and they let these stupid surveys that you and I obviously don't
automate
care
it.
about.
Totally.
That's
There's
right.
AI.
That's right.
It's AI.
I told you in my last show, I just bought a car. It's a used car. Spent about $20,000. 3 weeks ago now, 4 weeks ago, no thank you note, no handwritten thank you note from the salesperson. Wow. Nice young man, but he missed an opportunity to become an influencer. Mm-hmm. And it's just a shame because it's not like I'm going to buy a car every other week and somebody else is going to have an opportunity. It's just a mistake that we've gone away from the personalized service. And I think doctors should be doing it too. I was just thinking I'm changing doctors for a situation that I have because I thought the guy didn't care. And I want somebody who actually cares, right? And not just cares about doing the surgery and making a little bit of money. That's all he seemed to be, what can we cut today? So
right.
I think we really miss the opportunities by looking greedy and not developing those relationships.
You think about the car situation. Does that transfer into the service section of the dealership too, Bill? Does Absolutely, the sales, your experience in sales transfer to the service? Yes, it does. And who's in charge of the dealership? The general manager is in charge of the dealership. They create the culture within that dealership, the experience that every person has with the dealership, and the reputation that dealership should define and project in every interaction. And here's my last one is that too often we're missing big opportunities to have influential small actions. Prospects are constantly validating their decision of working with us, and they're looking for reasons not to work with us. So start anticipating and predicting their expectations, needs, and wants without being assumptive. There's a contradiction in there, but it is a real project when you have to anticipate somebody's needs. And here's the simple needs. I mean, return a phone call. Be on time, meet deadlines, seek confirmation in what you're doing, which is going to flush out some of the concerns and objections that people have while they're working with you. But listen intensely and extensively, going deep, extensively, going wide. So when you're listening, you're really understanding what their expectations are, because the only way that you're going to disappoint somebody is to not meet their expectations. And there's so many opportunities to make small impressions with prospects and customers.
Well, and that's the letter. That's the thank you note, right? So how much will that dealership possibly lose because I probably won't take my car in there for service because I didn't feel appreciated. And now the opportunity to make probably, thousands of dollars in follow-up, which they probably make more money in the service than they ever do in the car sales.
Right.
Now it's gone. It was a short window and it got missed. Even if it comes now, it's too late. So
we're really emphasizing a lot on services in our marketplace right now. I think about our groceries are being delivered, our dinners are being delivered. There's so many micro activities that are involved in a person that is making an impression on a customer. And we really need to take these micro activities very seriously because they are defining value and they are creating risk. Every time we engage, we need to really maintain the quality control and look at the risks that we're taking. And
we're turning that over. We're turning that final contact with the customer over to a third-party vendor.
Oh, yeah.
Grubhub or a delivery service of some kind. And now I'm turning it over to a guy who's trying to make a couple extra bucks and do it as fast as he can. And he's not really thinking about whether Grubhub has a good name or whether McDonald's has a good name. He just thinks, can I get it there fast, get a tip, and move on to the next one? Right. So what's the final vision that someone's left with when they hand them that McDonald's bag?
Wow. And this is why the surveys are so important. I mean, the experiences are not just one company, it's multiple companies, and people are measuring the quality that was delivered within a survey. But unfortunately, these companies just don't take these surveys very seriously.
Yeah.
And it's really sad.
The car companies, give me all 10s or I'm going to get in trouble. Well, what are you going to learn from that?
Well, begin with the survey and then make me feel obligated to give you 10s. Like, wow, what a wonderful experience.
What a great survey. What a useful survey that you get all 10s with.
Yeah.
And if you'd learn more if I gave you a 9 in something than if I give you all 10s and you throw it to the side and go, oh, all 10s again. Great. We're not in trouble.
Well, if you didn't get all 10s, then you got to follow up with them going, why only a 9?
Yep.
What
well,
happened?
They won't follow
How did
up
I lose
they're
points?
Afraid to follow up. So,
right.
All right. My last one is socially aware value propositions. And I think this is, we're green, we leave no mark on the community, we're, whatever, we use wind power. And I think a lot of this is coming from Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why. People have really embraced that. And I think maybe for certain generations, that's valuable. I got to tell you, I don't give a damn. I don't care. Give me a great product that works. I don't care if you use glass bottles or mix it up, or whether I can, take your packaging and bury it in my backyard. I just don't care. Just shut up and give me a product that's worth some. I don't even know if your products work. All I know is that you put them in bottles instead of in plastic.
Right.
And from my consumer viewpoint, I don't care. But what I do see happening is consumers are forming into two camps. So this cancel culture, the Twitter, all the things that are happening, we have leftist companies and rightist companies. And the question I have to ask is, are we going to only be able to get half the marketplace at any given time because we're either a leftist company or a rightist company? It's an interesting dichotomy, because once that company says, we believe in this social thing, whatever it is, and it goes beyond just we're green, right? We're woke. We're not going to advertise on this person's radio show because I don't like what they say, or some Twitter user told us not to. Well, now we just formed ourselves into a left and right, and we're going to lose half our market.
Right.
It's crazy. But you better walk a thin line on this as a salesperson. We've always been careful to not talk about our political positions. And in the old days, it was, let's just not do that because it's uncomfortable. Now it's death. If you're in the wrong political position, somebody may not buy from you. So you better just mind your P's and Q's on that. You let them do the hinting first.
So for those salespeople that are interested in selling to Bill, a good question would be, what's most important? And then don't sell them the green program that you're offering.
Don't sell me everything except what the product does.
Well, yeah, it's not important in the decision. So, it's a great example of it. What's really important when you're making a change, making a decision, starting something new? What's really important? Well, what do you mean? Well, what do you want to make sure that it includes? If you were updating your cell phone from one to the other, you're getting, the next cell phone. What do you want to make sure that includes? You're getting from a car from one to the other. What do you want to make sure that it includes? What do you want to make sure that it doesn't have, that it doesn't do, so that, you don't have to worry about that?
That's right.
And then have a conversation about that. And the most powerful question that you can ever ask in that situation is one word. And it's like going to the deli counter at the grocery store. These salespeople at the deli counter are really, really good. Could I get a quarter pounder of the corned beef? Yes, happy to. And well, I suppose I should get some of the Swiss cheese too. Great. Yeah, happy to do that. And well, this looks really good. Okay. And that's enough. Okay. You got me. You got more than I was expecting to buy just with one question. That was one word. And
all right. And so questions are a great tool, and the small questions are the most powerful.
Exactly.
So we have some resources. Scott, you wanted to have the resource about your no soliciting sign, right?
Yeah. It's the blog that has had the most activity, the most hits, the most common. And it's the one that's most controversial too. So if you want to hear some comments about how some people don't agree with my position and how I'm being disrespectful to first responders, which is not my intent at all. Yeah. So they read into it a little bit too closely. Yeah.
Now they're injured. They're injured by it. And
exactly. They have a scar.
We've got to be injured.
They have an emotional scar.
An emotional scar. All right. I have a short video called Having Better Client Conversation. Actually, it's a 3-parter, so it's not a short video, but we'll link to the first one and you can decide whether you want to do more. But asking questions and having that conversation is going to help you find out what those needs are in order to sell most effectively. This segment of the Winning at Selling podcast is brought to you by The Art of Prospecting, Your Guide to Getting in the Door by Steve Kloida. Steve Kloida was known internationally for increasing salespeople's ability to make solid appointments with qualified prospects. You too can learn this essential skill by ordering a copy of his superb book, The Art of Prospecting, Your Guide to Getting in the Door. In this book, Steve shares the top strategies and tactics he has developed, implemented, and personally tested with more than 1 million sales and prospecting calls. You can get his book on the website, theprospectingexpert.com. In addition, check out his other great online resources. Instant Sales Coaching, which will guide you through 5 online success modules. A guided prospecting process entitled Call Reluctance Transformer, and the Magnetic Selling Strategies Workbook, a detailed step-by-step guide to increasing your sales. Get any of these valuable resources at theprospectingexpert.com.
So our quote is one thing that I really want to collaborate everything that Bill and I have talked about today, and I want to summarize it with the role of a salesperson, and that is that you are selling against time. You are trading your time every single day to get a return.
What's the quote? What's the quote?
The quote. I want to put some context to the quote. I am building it up. So here it is.
Sound like a radio guy.
Okay. So here's the quote. A man who dares to waste 1 hour of time has not discovered the value of life, by Charles Darwin.
I think that's a genius quote, because we only have one resource.
It's probably the only quote that you're going to hear from me from Charles Darwin.
Yeah,
too.
But yeah, time is our best and only resource. Use it wisely. And to say I wasted time is a shame, and something I got to watch out for. I tend to get distracted. So,
well, I think it's important to have a goal when you're calling somebody, a purpose of calling somebody. I have a friend who calls me every time I see his name come up out the caller ID. I don't answer the phone. I go, if you can leave the message in 60 seconds and a compelling reason why I should call you back, go, because I'm going to get 42-minute conversation or listening to him for 42 minutes, and I'm never ever going to get that time back. So I will never answer the phone.
Yep. And there's salespeople out that are just like that.
Yeah.
They're not getting their phone calls returned. They're not getting appointments because they don't know when the heck to get out of the office.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So a new website, new title, Winning at Selling. And we've matched it. winningatselling.com is where you go to get the contact information and the show notes. Look for it there.
Thanks to our listeners for supporting Bill and I over the last year and continuing to download the podcast. We get over 10,000 downloads every month from across the world, and we're really grateful for our listeners. Bill, anything you want to add?
No, I just, it's exciting to have those kind of numbers. We're starting to get sponsors that are looking into us. And so if you want to reach salespeople, sales leaders all over the world, this is a place where you can do it.
So next week, Chapter 11 from Psycho-Cybernetics, How to Unlock Your Real Personality. Should be a good one. And the topic is going to be on dealing with customers who delay.
Go out and get better one skill at a time.
Joyful selling.